I've been listening to yesterday and today in the car, headphones, repeatedly to the Tucker Carlson Alex Jones interview. It is a tutorial. It is one of the best adumbrations and reviews and kind of outlines of what we need to discuss. It is something so important and so critical. And in my perfect world, I would have us having salons or salons, I'm trying to give it a kind of a Frenchy name there, in order for us to discuss what this means. What does it mean? It's so important on so many levels. And it would be a great place to start as a tutorial. I've told you about my dream is to have a summer, kind of like a retreat for parents and kids to start off, where I wipe out their hard drive, so to speak. We're gonna reboot. We're gonna reinstall a different version of their operating system, to use Mac parlance. Every now and then throughout life, you will go through a reboot. And people always, they love to attribute it to getting older and wiser. That's not necessarily it. It's something even more important. Alex Jones has gone through a reboot. First and foremost, his health is much better. When you lose weight and you are lighter, you feel so much better. You cannot believe what being heavy can do, or being fat, or being overweight. Number one, he is drastically. Now, you got to lose weight the right way. If you have some withering, wasting disease, that's not a good idea. If be very careful, you're going to be hearing things about Ozempic and Wegovy. Mark my words. If you haven't figured this out, ladies and gentlemen, I know those people who were the loudest about vaccines and they're not going to touch me, who are sticking their stomach because they're losing weight. And I'm thinking, do you know what's going on? No, just as an aside. But Alex is doing better because he is in better shape. Number two, I would think, and I don't know this, I would think that he is not drinking or not doing drugs. Drugs and drinking, and I'm going to tell you this, and this is not lecturing. You do whatever you want. You are 100% better without alcohol, without mind expansion, without any of this stuff. Normal brain activity is the best way to live. One of the beautiful parts about mind expansion is that it creates the illusion, it creates the fantasy that somehow you are catching in. People who use these awahaka, whatever this stuff is, they go and they hallucinate, I found this and I used the whatever, and they went, okay. The myth that is created, and I don't use that. So you can say, well, how do you know that? It's like, well, I don't use heroin either. So and I'm not trying to compare the two, but one of the things it does more than anything else, it creates the myth that you are somehow making a consciousness connection, that you are in another planet, you are in another dimension, another reality, and that somehow you will be forever benefited from that, and life will allow you to see things and to appreciate perception, colors, sound, sense, thought, love, intimacy, whatever, at levels you never thought possible. And that's the wonderful thing it is. Booze does that, by the way. Booze creates the idea that you're tough, you're sexy, you're funny, you're bold, you're having a great time, and it artificially does. Anyway, so Alex, I think from watching him and being very observant as I am, I think he is better spiritually. It seems to me that he's not, or it's better than he was, because there was a time that it really scared me. You could see in his face, and he was sweating, not to mention all the pressures that were. I don't know about his personal life or his family. I have no idea. I knew Alex for years. I was on his show many, 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 many times. And then admittedly, it went south. And he became radioactive. And you were told in no uncertain terms, if you are on his show, have him on your show, you are radioactive. You are cutting your throat. This is exactly what happened. This is why this is an important message today. Which was a part of the plan when those people were in charge. That's simple. And what it did was it made him more reclusive, not reclusive, but frightened, more angry, as you can imagine, which made him seem more dangerous. And then little by little, the collective message went out, he's crazy. He was never crazy. Alex Jones is never crazy. Alex Jones is one of the smartest people. And what he does, a couple of things. We all have our talents. I will tell you this much. I will tell you the people who are smart at appearing smart. I'm not going to mention their names, but you would know them. Their genius is appearing like a genius, but when in fact they're not. Okay. Alex remembers everything. His ability to recall dates, names is, just say it's encyclopedic. It doesn't even approach this. He and David Icke, to an extent, are purveyors of a kind of thinking that if they were musicians, you would run to them. Have you ever heard like tabla? Have you ever heard these new, lately, thanks to YouTube, I get into trends. I remember I've been getting into somehow percussion and Middle Eastern, what's his name? Hussein Zah. I've never heard anything like this. I mean, it was that sound that was out there, but I never would have known about that had it not been presented to me. That's what Alex Jones does. That's what David Icke does. It may not be something you want to hear all the time. I can only hear, Persian or Middle Eastern music, the sitar for only so long, maybe because of my own cultural biases, but it turned me on to that. And I never thought percussion sound could be like that. This is our percussion, but theirs isn't even this. It's into this and fingers and thumbs. I mean, they're hammers. I mean, wow, who knew this? I remember one time sitting there and watching this Chinese feller in the subway with an instrument, one string, and he's playing, Brandenburg Concerto. I go, how did you do? Okay. So life is, I always keep these things hanging. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Cut down on inflammation. Make sure you floss all the time for your heart. Your heart benefits. I'm going to leave it at that. Alex Jones. Wild. Different. Unique. Opened my mind in I don't even know when. But really, 2001 was my pow. It was like me in 2001 going to a little, who was it? Maybe going to somebody who has never heard music other than in their village, and I took them to every concert and jazz club around the world for 1 week, and we flew, and you heard everything from the Stones to Middle Eastern to this to jazz, where they were just so overwhelmed. They said, not only did I know what music was, I didn't even know it was that much. I didn't know. I couldn't have even imagined this at this level. That was me before 9/11. I mean, I thought I knew, but I didn't know. And I don't know what happened. It was as though, if you want to believe in God, it was though God said, boom. So at the time this happened, I happened to run across a feller who might be here. I'm not going to mention, I'm not going to call him out. But he is the fellow who told me one time, we can drown them in our urine. And I was introduced to one feller who was a 9/11 investigator. He was found unalived. And I don't know the circumstances. There was another person I met and another person I met. And all of a sudden, when the internet was still wild and raw and frontier and open, I just, pow. It was like when somebody is born again. You know, do you ever meet these people years ago where all of a sudden you knew a friend who was a debauched kind of a drug addict loon, and then all of a sudden became born again, and then whoa, hey, wow. Right? That's exactly what happened. And at that time, I knew about Alex Jones, but I did and I didn't. I didn't really know. But it made sense. All of a sudden, say, oh, something happened to me. Something happened. My ability to hear. It was like, have you ever, this is terrible. You ever gone to an ear, your ear is clogged up with cerumen, you know, earwax. You get it clogged up. There was one time where I couldn't hear anything. And I was kind of getting dizzy. And I went to this doctor. He said, okay. And he puts it into peroxide and he macerates it, you know, and then flushes this thing out. And all of a sudden, when I heard this, you know, the sound of the water. And then whenever this stuff came out, all of a sudden, pow, I could hear. It's like, oh my God. It's like watching those pictures of kids where they have this, they have these, these implants. What is it called? The Rush Limbaugh had them. And all of a sudden they turn it on. What was that? Cochlear implant. Right. Thank you. Cochlear implant. And all of a sudden they, boom. Or they put the glasses on and the kid sees or hears his mother's voice for the first time. It's like, that was it. That was it. It was, I was walking around. I was doing okay. I was in talk radio. I was doing my stuff. I kind of thought I knew, oh, politics, this and that. And then all of a sudden, they cleaned out my ears. I love when they also show you this basin. See what was in there? Oh, my God. Arms and legs. Or you just hear this. You see this. You're aware of this. My God. Oh, I never thought about that. Yes. Or somebody says, I want you to listen to this. That's Fats Waller. Do you hear Fats Waller here? Oh, yeah. I wouldn't have known the connection. To make a long story short, 9/11, Alex Jones, the time I'm sort of in this thing and I'm thinking, oh my God. And then being in New York and being downtown, I don't even think it hit me until afterwards. It wasn't 9/11. It was afterwards because I was still processing these like, and I don't know when the red pill, they might have showed me the red pill. The red pill came later. I don't know when, but there I was. And I used to be downtown. And there was a wonderful downtown. And there was a place, it was next to, our station was next to Trinity Church, where Alexander Hamilton is buried. And this is the financial district. And there was the World Trade Center here. And the bull, it's right down the street. It was right there. It was a terrible place to be. But I was walking and the Trade Center was behind us and Building 7 was over here. And I'm in this place every single day. Every single day, every single night, every single moment, I was just there. after things were kind of cleared up, you know, that kind of thing. And I don't know about, God only knows about the cancer, because I have a friend of mine who is a radiologist who said, there's no reason why people should be getting all this cancer, thyroid and others. There was something there. This is not just from building debris or asbestos. There was something radiologic there. This is from a friend of mine who is a radiologist. Okay. I get to my point. One day, it hit me. And my friend said, either before or afterwards, and I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you. If you have, you'll know what I mean. And it's that moment. It's not the red pill, but it's the epiphany. It's when all of a sudden you get something. And he said, again, either before it happened or after it happened, he said, you won't be able to sleep. You won't be able to believe this is going on. You won't be able, you won't be able. And the second thing is that you will be fascinated by how many people know nothing of what you're doing, what you're talking about. Imagine seeing this spacecraft landing at the 50-yard line at the Super Bowl. An absolute obvious spacecraft, and nobody saw it. You're the only one. And you're thinking, am I crazy? Not am I crazy, but am I? How did they not see it? Or even better, that they did see it, but something in the power source or the system or whatever it was disconnects your ability to appreciate what it was. So there, but you you weren't there when that ray was. Are you following this? It's as though something was turned off. Yeah, they saw it, but it didn't mean anything. Remember when you were a kid, when you learned about girls and boys, and somebody said, hey, I think she likes you. What? Because you didn't know what girls liking you meant. No, she likes you. She does? Is that what it is? Yeah. And you think, why do I not know this? Well, this is in reverse. You know it, but they don't know it. So all of this happened to me. And every fact, and I've learned to kind of mollify it. I've learned to kind of put it aside. But the facts that I have gotten into, and I do not want to hear something that somebody thinks happened. I've got to be able to prove it. It continues to blow my mind. Okay. Now, Alex Jones came along, and I think by virtue of the way he says it, the way he speaks, he has a kind of an Elmer Gantry kind of Southern, preacher. I'm okay. I'm from Texas, and people they care so much about what they're saying. It's very, very important. That's why I'm telling Jasmine Crockett, theoretically, you sounding like a buffoon on Jerry Springer is not working. You may be the smartest person in the world, but the world does not care for this. And you're coming across like an idiot. And at the time when you told Alex, listen, when he blew up at Piers Morgan about 1776, I thought he looked like an idiot. And I'll bet you I haven't talked to him since, but I will bet you that he would look back and say, yeah, you're right. Because I could see, I've learned so much. You've got to disarm the person, and then you don't want to. You'll get clicks, but getting clicks doesn't get you credibility. Remember that. That doesn't mean people with a lot of clicks don't have credibility, or people without clicks doesn't mean that way. Let me tell you how I met Alex. There was a group called Talkers. Talkers, every year they met. And it was something, and when talk radio was big, it was every major talk radio host came in, normally in New York. Michael Harrison was a producer, still around, but he was the publisher, and we put this thing on. We had panels and everybody you can imagine, all in one place. Biggest bunch of bullshit you've ever, it was radioactive. Bullshit artists all in one place. It was unreal. And it was always fun. So I would be on panels and absolutely, no lie, kill them, because they just didn't understand they took themselves seriously. I didn't, and would laugh about it and whatever it was. Okay. I asked Michael Harrison, I said, listen, you've got to get Alex Jones on. He said, we were going to get Alex Jones. I said, great. It's a very good thing, because Alex Jones is not, see, a lot of these folks were, there were people like, what's his name? Not Moondog. Oh, Man Cow. Moondog. There were, people who, Hannity would come there and say, well, I'm with Premiere. Well, I'm with Cumulus. Well, I'm with Clear Channel. Well, I'm with CBS. Well, we're Westwood. Are you Syndicate? And they always thought they were, like, they laughed at Art Bell. I'm thinking, that's the best thing. What are you talking about? And they swore they came from the days of radio, and they loved radio, and they loved radio. And I'm thinking, you're not making, you're making a mistake here. So I asked Michael Harrison, I said, please let me introduce him. That's all I asked. He said, it's a deal. Great. We were there on 3rd Avenue, in this building right by Smith & Wollensky, like 49th, 50th, right there. And 3rd, and we were in this little building. It was this very low ceiling. It was very odd, very weird. So anyway, I said, where's Alex? Because I want to introduce myself. He said, he's in that room. So I walked in, and there he was, by himself, just sitting there. And he looked at me, and he didn't look afraid. This guy had been double-crossed so many times. And I said, I am a friend. You will never get a better friend. I'm going to introduce you. Okay. And we shook hands. This is, we didn't even have like cell phone. Oh, we had cell phone. We didn't have cameras or anything. Nothing. So I went on and I introduced him. And I said to these people, remember, all these folks these are big shot talk show hosts from all over the country. And they're looking at, who's this guy? What station? Is he with Clear Channel? And I said, would you stop this Clear Channel? You, this is going to change very quickly. They didn't see it coming. And I said, you will be as we say in the kitchen here, you will be scared of what he says. But everything he says, he always says, here's the story. Here is the story. He'll either be a camera here, and he was doing, I don't even know if he had a camera then. I heard him just visibly, he would always say, here's the source, here's your citation. Alex Jones said, remember this, honey? It was, he talked about the cable boxes, Comcast, I think it was Comcast, 95 maybe, where they were listening to you on cable boxes, cable boxes that you use. It's funny, people say cable. We did that thing with that 13-year-old girl who didn't know what Yellow Pages was. People are going to say, cable? What's a cable box? Most people do not have cable. You know that, right? Most people do not have cable. We don't. I don't know why. Seriously, we watch, everything we have is on is Wi-Fi, Roku or Netflix or whatever. I don't, I'm not trying to be, I just don't. So anyway, so Alex Jones, and I gave this, I gave this example. I said, Alex Jones said that people, these companies were listening to us in cable boxes. I said, this is crazy. Why? Because it scared me. Number two, I didn't want it to be true. Number three, I didn't want to know like I didn't know about it, which is really the problem. People say, I didn't know that. Nobody wants to say this. Well, I knew that. Or that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Why? Because I would have known it. Because I'm in the news business and I'm with Clear Channel. I'm with Clear Channel and I'm with Cumulus and I'm with Premiere and I'm with Westwood One and I'm with and we would have known that. I didn't hear anybody say that. Rush Limbaugh never said that. Howard Stern never said that. Who's this Alex Jones guy? He wouldn't know that. Sure enough. And he says, here's the article. I'm not making this up. Frogs turning gay. Remember that one? Remember that one? Remember this? Frogs turning gay. That's not what happened. That's not it. Not that they were gay. Not that frogs became, they adjusted their romantic persuasions, because that's really what gay is, doesn't matter. The humans. It meant a gender transmogrification and whatever it was. That's true. Absolutely, here it is. Now, someone very correctly said that was an X-Files episode. Did you hear the story where Alex was put on the map where he predicted 9/11? Remember that? Did you see this? It is so eerie, which made me think, okay, how do I know you're not a false flag and you're not a false prophet and you're not? Because how did you get this? Alex, in this incredible interview with Tucker, talked about how the X-Files had come to him. It all kind of blends. Remember, if you can think it, somebody has either made a movie. The Manchurian Candidate was with, way before MK Ultra, but and that. So anyway, back to Alex. So Alex, he came out. We met. He did this thing. He blew them away. They didn't know what to do because, first of all, the radio, this pompous people said, "Well, you're not radio." And today, the number one person in the world probably is Joe Rogan or others as well. So what I'm saying is, and let me also say something to you. Radio, talk radio, can be done. We're going to do my little experiment on WABC again this week. They didn't know what to make out of this. That is not dead, especially that channel. And I can't go into the specifics, but if I sat there with you, I would say, listen to this AM radio talk and listen to WABC. What do you notice? What's different? And it is as close to, because it can't be complete, as close to free-form platform as you can get while maintaining the rules of it. Okay, that aside. Back to Alex. Alex comes out, interviews the people. He wows them, and we become friends, and I was on his show. We just great. Paul Joseph Watson and everything he is still for whatever reason. It's like first time I heard George Jones, that was it. That was it. I remember I was waiting for the results of our bar exam in 83. Waiting to, we were funny. You take the exam in July, and you wait till November. I don't know what the hell they're scoring. So we're waiting, and I was just thinking, this is it. I'm waiting to get this call. From a friend of mine who went in with the Supreme Court, and it was rainy, and I was playing George Jones, and oh my God, he stopped loving her today, and the door. I mean, George Jones. Now, to people who love George Jones, they know exactly what I'm talking about, but most people don't. They just don't, and I understand. That's Alex Jones. The people who like him love him, and most people don't know him. He's like George Jones. He's the greatest thing in the world, unless you don't like him. And if you don't like him, he's annoying, it's cornpone, it's silly, it's stupid, it's crazy, it's nuts. That's Alex Jones. I talked to one day, I'm never going to divulge his name. We were at a party for a fellow who was since deceased. And I sat next to a fellow who was in the news, who, I'm not going to say too much, but you may not know his name, but you know the company. And we were talking about stuff, and I said, you do know that the way, what's really going to change is to, and I was already saying, and this wasn't that long ago, saying that the people who are going to change the news, it's not going to be Fox News. It's going to be people like Alex Jones. And he said, Alex Jones is crazy. And I said to him, looking him right in the eye, and I said, no, you're crazy if you think he's crazy. If you listen to that, it's like the people who heard the Beatles and then, and I realized that was part of my journey into this, because Alex Jones comes along and people said he's crazy. And we love to say that when you don't like somebody, they're crazy. Oh, he's crazy. We used to say stupid, but now it's crazy. Oh, that Jasmine Crockett, she's crazy. She's not crazy. She may not be that bright, but there are very few crazy people. Really crazy. Crazy normally gets kind of filtered out. Emotionally, drunks slip through. But he's not crazy in the least. But because he yelled and screamed, and because of his histrionics, people thought Alex Jones. Okay. Alex Jones is here. Now, you got to understand this about me. The more you tell me I can't listen to somebody, the more I want to listen to him. The more you tell me, since I was a kid, don't listen to that. Why? Must be good. Thank you. Thank you. I remember that one time they said, there was a place in Tampa on Kennedy. Was it Lostra's drugstore? And they had Playboy magazine, but over there. And I was a kid. Little kid, I said, what is that? That's Playboy. Why is it over there? Because it's not for you. I want to see it. That was it. That was it. They told me, I want to see it. Really? I want to see it. It must be great. Oh, no. No. Give it to me. Where is it? What is it? I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it was. It's like as soon as they told me that, I got to see it. It's who I am. It's who I am. And I'll never forget this, because they told me, they said, you don't understand this. And I'll never forget, well, my first friend ever, this was in 90, we were like, I don't know, 7, 6, whatever. Who knows how young I was. I was in his house, and his father, they were kind of like swingers, I think, later on afterwards. His father had a stack of Playboy magazine. And I said, oh, is that what they told me I couldn't? Anyway. At the time, it was, oh my God, Catholic school, I'm 7 years old. Why? Because they told me. If they'd have told me, yeah, look at it. It's okay. When I was a kid, we had liquor in our house. My father said, if you ever want a drink, go ahead. I said, what? Yeah, just don't go outside. But who the hell wants a drink? No, if you're interested, I don't want this. It's like, well, you're asking me? It must not be any good. You see how this works? Forbidden fruit? It never. That was part of Alex Jones. You can't do this. He's crazy. What are you? He's crazy. Say it again. I love it. He's crazy. He's crazy. Have you listened to him? No. Have you seen what he said? No. Well, don't listen to him. Just read. But somebody can talk about the Bible and sound like a nut. But that's okay. All right. I'm not going to get into that. Okay? Tucker Carlson. Tucker's the most fascinating of them all. Alex is pretty simple. Tucker's been through more. Tucker is still not, he's still searching. He's still finding his way. He has recently embraced religion more than ever. He talks about spirituality. Great. The family and this and God. And I gave up drinking. And here's why I gave up drinking. Okay, good. Went through these things. And the bow tie. Doesn't have the bow tie. He was a nerdy. And his father died. You know, and when your parents die, it's always a very, very critical part of your life. Because that was like your first friend. Ideally, your parents were your first friend. Your mother was your first, friend, best friend ever. And then, later on. But Tucker, when his father died, Dick Carlson, and, and then when Tucker was basically booted from Fox, don't think for a moment Hannity had nothing to do with that. I'll bet you Hannity has something to do with that. And Bill O'Reilly. I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised. No proof of that whatsoever. But Hannity's the luckiest guy in the world. Follows Rush Limbaugh and Bill O'Reilly. Okay? And is still a genius. One of the most mediocre talents ever. But has been able to parlay this. God bless him. It's like you just wonder how do you... And I say that with all due respect. Move that over there. Tucker. Tucker was hurt when Fox gave him the boot. Tucker, it affected him. Let me tell you something. You ever lose a job? Remember lose the first time you say, why would they? And in the media business, let me tell you something. You have never met a more stupid bunch of people, craven, weird, imperious, just deranged. You have never met any. Seriously, I mean it. You know how you normally, for example, you go someplace and you say, that guy must know something about small engine repair. Why? Well, he's got a bunch of small engine repair. That guy in the hospital must know something about that. Why? Well, because he's in radio radio media. No, you'll get somebody who was sales, or somebody who was this, or somebody who inherited the station, or somebody who on a merger came in and he didn't like this guy and he always wanted to run. Believe me, they will do things that, okay. And the first thing you're going to ask is, they never would ever hurt kill the bottom line. They would never do that. This is what you would think, right? Never. They would never kill the golden goose or the fatted calf, whatever the hell the expression is. They would never do that. They would never get rid of Rush Limbaugh. They would never. Why? Because he makes too much money. That would be insane. No. In media, when you've already made your budget, and cable, because remember, cable is different. Cable, you've made all of your money through carrier fees and all that. It's not really advertising. They've made their money. Just like the NFL. Before one fanny sits in those seats, they've already made their money. But they'll do something every now and then. And if ever you've been a recipient where you say, how in the world could they fire me? I'm the best thing in the world. I'm unique. I'm smart. No. Why? He doesn't like you. They don't need you. Remember, graveyards are filled with indispensable men. Back to Tucker. Tucker is the hottest thing in the world. He's the most... Hannity is here. Tucker is here. Tucker is, who was it? Glenn Beck kind of did it for a while, but Glenn Beck is a chameleon. He's Zelig. Whoever he's hanging around, that's who he becomes. He was on his chalkboard talking about fractional reserve currency. He was doing Alex Jones like a poor rendition of it. He's not really settling down. Glenn Beck is like the Chinese. They take what you have and they counterfeit it. And then they make it again and they go, here's my version of it. It might be cheaper, louder, better, but it's basically, it's somebody else. My opinion. Okay. So Tucker thinks, they fired me. Now it could have been because of the lawsuit with the whatever it is. Could have been that. Could have been New World Order. Who knows? But they said, okay, and we'll get rid of our number one person, the number one star, the number one, absolutely, positively, number one, the anchor, bringing new people in. New people. Oh my God, he was talking about Orban, and he had Douglas McGregor, had all these people. Phenomenal, right? Phenomenal. Incredible. They fired him. They fired him. And we don't know. Nobody knows specific. We got some. All right. And that hurt Tucker. That hurt him more than you will ever know. Because it's like, how dare you? So what did he do? I'll tell you what he did. He did what Anthony Cumia did, my good friend. He said, well, screw that. I'm going to do my own thing. And I started doing, by the way, podcasting so early, and Talkers magazine, for whatever it's worth, not bragging, this is just a fact. Remember the Sons of Will Sonnet. Remember that? No brag, just fact. Talk radio had the heavy 100 of all time. When talk radio was, I'm in the heavy 100, all right, whatever that's worth. Thank you very much. But also, Talkers had a thing called Pioneers of, this is when podcasting, and I was on, remember Tom Likas? Remember him? Tom Likas and I were like the only people who were doing podcasting, and I remember at that same place, I don't think it was at the time of Alex, but it was at that same Talkers convention. People said, what's podcasting? And they looked at me like, what are you talking about? Who's going to pay for radio? Who's going to pay for cable? Who's going to pay for, okay, you got it? Okay, this is called paywall. Stop. Back to Tucker. So Tucker said, well, screw you. Same thing with Anthony Cumia, who was, it turns out, the most talented person ever. He sets up his own thing, and he has Compound Media, and he and Gavin, and he takes off. His other, the moiety, this poor guy he's yelling, out of his mind. It's kind of sad. That's Tucker, though. Tucker said, I'm going to do this. And people said, we're with you, Tuck. Because there's one thing about our audience. And this is important. All of us are freaks. All of us have been thrown out at one time or another from something. We've had friends who thought we were crazy. We had friends who lost us with TDS, lost us with that. We lost us maybe during the pandemic and vaccines. We're basically rebellious, and we're very comfortable with being the only ones following. In fact, we prefer this. In fact, I go so far as to say, we are of the opinion that if everybody agrees with us, we must be doing something wrong. Am I right? There's something wrong. If everybody agrees with me, I'm doing something wrong. Let me stop for 1 second. I've been I've been talking so much. By the way, Howie Brown, thank you so much for gifting 5 Lionel Nation memberships. You are a mensch. Our good friend Sparky says, hallucinogenic drugs cause a reshuffling of specific brain regions, like might happen with an ischemic stroke without permanent damage, or a stroke with permanent damage. Rarely helps, but very risky. But by the way, Sparky, it has helped. It has helped. Many things have helped. MDMA, ecstasy has done phenomenal work. I told you before about fecal transplantation. It works. Don't try it at home, though. But it works. But be careful. Our good friend Christian Janis, who has a denomination of money, I think he made this up, says a young lady walks up to me at the high school dance and says, Christian, I want to dance. So I told her, then you should. So I know what you mean about not knowing. There you go. Remember that I want a neck. You've got one. Or Alex Jones finally remembered his off again as Archangel's real. I don't know what this means. Thank you. Sparky says, True Lies came out before the Telecommunications Act, which enabled warrantless wiretapping. Movie shows Schwarzenegger's character listening in on his wife without phone company help. Oh, yeah, that was great. I love that with Tom Arnold. Remember that? And it was Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh, I love that. I love that. Remember, it goes back to Frank Capra at the beginning of the CIA, and well, we'll waste our time with him. But you're right about that. Tucker's a person who, if you sat down, and I appreciate this because Tucker is normally this happens with people. Tucker's very, very smart, but Alex is more solid. You know what I mean? He knows exactly what he is. Tucker's getting there. And in a good way. In a good way. This is not in any way mockery, but I know what I'm talking about. I read people. Call it empathic. I know what I'm talking about. I know. Because to me, it's all obvious. Now, let's go back to this. So yesterday, and I want you to listen to this repeatedly, and everybody should watch this, listen to it. You should have listening parties at your home, have a little party, watch it, and then talk about it. Do you ever eat something with a chef? You ever go to a tasting menu with a chef? There's nothing better than a guy opening up a new restaurant and he has a tasting thing. He says, I want you to come by. Let's try this. What do you think about this? Now, if I say, well, that's pretty good. Listen to a chef. I like this. I like the back end. I like it. I think it needs a little bit more. Yeah. I'm picking up the cardamom. Yeah, right. That's the way they do it. It's fascinating. I'm just saying, this is good. Same thing with the enophile. There's a guy who says, I'm tasting chestnuts and blueberries and I don't know. I want people to say, watch this and say, do you know what they're saying? Do you understand what they're saying? Do you get what they're saying? This is the most important thing in the world. Do you understand what they're saying? First, they talk about censorship. This is so important. And what you learn from this, if you listen to it, is that censorship is not random. It's not accidental. It's coordinated. It's top-down global operation executed by some kind of a convergence or some concatenation of intel agencies, corporate platforms, big tech, pharmaceuticals, big finance, Wall Street. It operates with a shared goal to control the narrative, to crush dissent, to protect elite power. Alex is crazy. Alex is crazy because of Sandy Hook. He said these things. Listen to me. He said, I didn't say that. Yes, he did. No, I didn't. But why did they say that? Why did they say you said that? I don't know why. You just never questioned me. You never questioned me, and you never asked me, and you never did anything other than believe everything that they said. You never asked me. I never said that. It's fascinating. And because during the maelstrom of this, you don't know how complicated it is. Same thing with Tucker. And again, I don't know what the story was. They fired their number one star because of what? Dominion? I don't know. They always say that. Well, because of the Dominion. Other people said things about it. Didn't Maria Bartiromo said stuff and Laura Ingraham? I don't think it was that. It was something else that was involved. They talked about the fact that the First Amendment is not merely some legal artifact. It's not like that. It's the final safeguard, the last stop between liberty and tyranny and totalitarianism. It is that critical. And the ability to speak freely, my friends, the ability to especially speak to unpopular or uncomfortable truth, no matter what it is. Events that are happening now, let me tell you something. If you think it's bad now, try changing the narrative as to something that happened in the past. Try it. Then they'll call you a revisionist. And there's nothing worse than a revisionist. This is the foundational test of a free society. There's no way around it. Once speech is controlled, speech, but also perception and that, once it's controlled, every other right becomes conditional. That's what you get from listening to this. Technocracy, big tech, Silicon Valley. This is the new tyranny. This is where it is. Remember, information is the currency, not Bitcoin, not cryptocurrency, not the dollar, not the yuan. No, it's information and data. What happened to Alex Jones, what destroyed Alex Jones, no, excuse me, what they used to try, because to me, he's bigger than ever. And Nietzsche was right. And, don't forget, what does not destroy me maims me. But he is stronger than ever. But what they did was they tried to destroy him by controlling the narrative. They told you he said these terrible things, that he laughed and micturated over the graves of people. It never happened. You found out how big government, how these people came out of nowhere and forced the narrative, cobbled it, created it, built it out of nothing. And they destroyed him. Now, Tucker, they didn't get that far. See, certain narratives are okay, certain aren't. I did a video again this morning, which I'm very interested about, how black girls in particular are being given absolutely no leadership by virtue of people like Michelle Obama, Kamala. You know what I mean? They're really kind of given these kind of lunatic, kind of crazy people. And why do you think that is? I also think it's interesting, and maybe somebody can help me with this. And I give this just as an example. I'm not giving you this as a I'm not trying to be cute here, but why is it that when it comes to Candace Owens really going after Brigitte Macron, why? Why is that true? How did that happen? Why didn't she ever go after Michelle Obama? Why? Isn't that odd? Now, I'm not saying she should, but I'm always, you got to understand, the way I am now, I analyze everything to the point of exhaustion. I analyze it. I don't question. I always ask, what's the reason for that? What's the motivation behind that? Who's calling the shots? Why did this happen? Why did they fire Tucker? Why would somebody fire the number one, unless there's big people in charge? Our good friend, let me see something here. Our good friend Sparky says, I should have specified acid like LSD or mushrooms. Real ecstasy can help with PTSD, which is true, MDMA, depression, marriage issues, etc. But I hear the street stuff in the last 20 years is just meth. That I do not know, but I would not be surprised. Cut Up Chatter says, number one because it has the highest priority. Or the most frequent. It depends what, like the number one worst disease. That's number one? Yes. There's a story I want to tell you, which is one of the best ever, one of the best jokes I saw, and I wanted to bring this to your attention. I think this is so good. It's not even, listen to this joke. Just a second. Where is this great joke? Oh, God. Come on. It's about this guy who goes to heaven and sees the Let me see. That's not it. I'll find it later for you. It's a great joke, I'll tell you. But I don't want to change my momentum. Okay, so here we are. So right now, we're in this world, and Alex Jones is coming out of it. It's very interesting. Alex is coming out of the woods, so to speak. Alex is involved in this, and Alex is coming forward, and he says to you, let me tell you what I am seeing, and let me tell you what I am learning, and let me tell you what I am thinking, and let me tell you what I am believing, and let me tell you all of these things that's happening to me right now. Okay, fine. And it's the most important and the most critical. And I was listening to it, and I'm thinking to myself, this has to be mandatory viewing. Alex has been talking about globalism before we knew what globalism was. People have been, he used this term, and it's very interesting because to most people, globalist sounds good. Sounds good. Globalist. Globalist is, we are the world. This is the globe. No, doesn't mean like that. It means somebody using his particular type of say and pull to eliminate individual fragmented pieces of the mosaic and to think collectively as the huge global. Technocracy changed everything. Let me tell you what happened. What changed society more than anything in my lifetime, you say TV was great. It was the portable camera on your phone. Not the internet. Internet's okay. We had the internet. It was great before we had the internet in 96, 7. It was kind of free and it was all right. The camera did. The camera. I've seen this. And that goes back to this notion of what's happening to women. I'm going to say something, and Alex talks about this. The people today who are crazier than anything I've ever seen are women. Now, let me say this. I'm not saying all women are crazy. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying women are crazier than... No. I'm saying the emergence of something that I, as an observer, can tell you is women. Something has happened, and I never knew it would trigger something like this. I don't know if it was atavistic. I have no idea. The camera has turned... We have created more sluts, slatterns, meretrices than you can imagine. OnlyFans, the commodification, the industrialization, the merchandising of sex, and the like. Women who, for whatever reason, are so obsessed with looks, appearance, sexiness, there is nothing that they will not do. And let me also tell you something. They're not doing it to convince the world. They're doing it to convince themselves. All of that is part and part. And believe me when I tell you that. This is not just by accident. People get very upset when I say that. Because they will always remember, people only will be upset with something they see in themselves. If you say something to somebody, if you say, I think that gluttony, what do you mean by that? It's like the old joke. Guy walks into a bar and yells, all lawyers are assholes. And somebody in the bar says, hey, I resent that. He says, I'm sorry, are you a lawyer? He says, no, I'm an asshole. You see, people always will. Technocracy, big tech. This is the new tyranny. This is the globalist model that doesn't use brute force. It uses data, it uses surveillance, it uses digital infrastructure through ESG scores and DEI and digital currencies and social credit scores and AI moderation and biometric tracking and the control grid. is being constructed constantly in plain sight. It's not theoretical, it's operational. This is real. This is it. I've been able to affect huge swaths of people by creating these dopamine circuits, these dopamine machines, and allowing people to be so affected, so affected by things, by the world, that they themselves, and this is important, they themselves will lose themselves in this. I don't know what could be accomplished today or what is accomplishable today were it not for the internet, or excuse me, the phone, but also the camera and this. Tell me what I want to be. One of the most important, just give me a second. One of the most important things ever was the filter. The filter was the idea that I want to look like this. I want to be like this. And it said, I live here. I'm not going to spend too much time because I lose the audience, but people live in their particular social media world. Now, with that came censorship that is nothing more than the weaponization of reputation. Now, let me I want you to just think about this. This is the weaponization of reputation. This is the most important thing you could ever even imagine. This is the weaponization of reputation. The people who thought terribly about Alex were told this. They didn't believe this on their own. Mr. Mike says, Jones Doc Endgame is a must watch. You're funny you say that, because it's not. He has things to this day that are absolutely, positively still incredibly, powerfully important. Let me tell you one thing about him. Alex Jones has also recreated or done something which is very important. And that is, he has been able to figure out new marketing channels. And he has sold more product, not because he's a shyster or a charlatan, but he has been able to leverage his faith, the support, his believability, his countenance, and being able to commodify it. And people believe him. And he has done more than anybody could ever imagine. He has taken to the notion of soul. Let me give you an idea. When I talked about, I like something that I can kind of understand. And one of the products I've always loved is the idea of what to do in the case of an emergency. Power supplies, radios, food. And My Patriot Supply is this company. They're the number one. And I love having people listen to what I'm saying and agree with it. But in order for people to understand why Prepare with Lionel makes sense, is you have to understand that, yes, things could go wrong. If you live in a pie-in-the-sky world where nothing can ever go wrong, where there can be no problem, well, let me tell you what happens. You get this. Let me ask you a question. What happens when the trucks stop? Think about this. Trucks, the trucks that bring your food, and then when one store closes because of a riot or ransomware hit or a hurricane or even manufactured weather. Oh, yeah, we've talked about that. What happens when all of a suddenly the entire supply chain collapses like dominoes? What happens then? We've seen it happen, and it doesn't take much. And that's the thing you've got to think about. A trucker strike, a cyber attack, some EMP, some Carrington class disaster, a city shut down by violence. It only takes one spark for shelves to go empty fast. And when that happens, and when that moment hits, you either have what you need or you don't. And that's why I am telling you, I want you to go to preparewithlionel.com. Our trusted friends at My Patriot Supply, they're offering unbelievable deals right now. You've got to see deals on emergency food kits that could save your life and your sanity. Over 2,000 calories per day, for 3 months of food per person, shelf stable for 25 years, in any kind of combinations you want, and made to taste like actual meals, not cardboard, not some military MRE. These kits aren't just insurance, they're peace of mind. So go to preparewithlionel.com, secure your kit, secure your future. Preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com, because when the world breaks down, the prepared don't panic. You know, we were talking about this, and again, I want you so much to listen to this, especially the story about what happened to Alex, what happened to him, where he ran astray of the powers that be. Cut Up says, at the monastery, I was only a guest and the only one with a mirror. I ran away from the ex who was insane and believed he was being hunted. Peace. Wow. Ooh. That's a story. That sounds like a great movie. But more, he turned our internet into a nightmare and was sure they would grab him. He was so insane, but it happened slowly. The internet hurt all of us. The internet may have tapped into something that was predestined. Alcohol didn't destroy people. Alcoholism does. Raul says, camera in hand, even elderly women are crass. It's changed everything dramatically and drastically. But going back to what we're saying right now, this is so important. They don't understand where this. One thing about Alex too, he's very, very deferential, very, very, very polite. He sits back and he said, "No, go ahead." He's not. He's just a different person, absolutely different person. Something, and I think his head, I think his health, losing the weight, and whatever psychic scatteredness, I think might be gone. You see, he brings up, listen to what Paul Weiss and others said about targeted legal campaigns and how they were used systematically to destroy him, the social aspect, the financial, the personal life of him at every level. When Paul Weiss went, according to Alex, when Paul Weiss went to Trump to say, listen, we want our security clearance back. We'll make a deal. We'll give $100 billion or whatever in pro bono. And when they listed what they did for pro bono, this is according to Alex, some of the things that they did, some of the items they did, some of the behavior or the activities that they involved in were actually, and this is important, they were actually involved in going after Alex. They used that as an example of pro bono. So this is also a group of people who, and if there's one thing that we learn from this, remember, sometimes people will teach you in life that they know more because of the way they look, or they wear a suit, or maybe they went to a particular college, or went to college and you didn't, or they're a doctor and you're not. And I remember the psychiatrist, the MD, looks down on the licensed social worker or the psychologist, the PhD or the MSW, and everybody is fooled by zip code and by countenance and exteriors and what you look like and whether you wear a tie. All of that is complete and total nonsense. This is what's happening. This is where this goes. This is how critical all this stuff is. This is like something nobody else has ever seen before. Sparky says, I don't believe the rumor about the former first lady. One of her daughters resembles her husband. The other resembles her. Maybe if each is a blood piece of their respective parent. I don't give it any, I really don't give it any thought. My first inclination is no, not really. I think, though, it's interesting to note, and this is important, that we have never talked more about transgender anything like we do now. But also, Sparky, why do you think that for some reason Candace Owens is so You would think, and you know what? Forgive me. She might have spoken about this. I don't follow her that much. I know she has I hate the expression, a hard on for Brigitte Macron, but that's a different story, my dear friend. I want to talk about this thing called justice, though. This is what they did to him was a social assassination through judicial means. To even call it lawfare doesn't even remotely get to the bottom of this. Now, the next phase of this is very, very, very critical. And they speak about this, criminalizing dissent. You see, governments are preparing right now, and they're doing it around in Europe, to expand, quote, hate speech and misinformation laws to the point where it's labeled as a crime, as a criminal offense, and arrests over online posts have already begun in Western nations. You know this. I think Germany had it. The United States is next if the public remains passive. You understand this? Blood niece, not peace. There you go. There you go. Thank you so much. Thanks for clarifying that. Now, when you watch this also, I want you to listen to what they're talking about. And I agree, but for different reasons. This is a spiritual war. And that spiritual war is the eradication of truth and the suppression of speech and ideas and expression and thought. And it's not just political. It's almost, and I hate to use these terms, it's almost metaphysical. The forces behind this global clampdown or shutdown or this truncation, if you will, of speech are rooted in moral decay and, as people use more and more, and I'm becoming more and more accepting of this term, evil. Evil's kind of like a shortcut. It's like the word stuff. Sometimes stuff, I don't go into the George Carlin routine, but sometimes the word stuff says it perfectly. There is an erosion of speech and of truth and of expression, and it's a sign of deep spiritual illness involving the institutions of power. And this is what Alex and them talk about. You never knew all this was in there. I did. Then they speak about the notion of culture. Culture has been converted and eroded into a control tool. This is important to understand. Comedy, which once was a weapon, kind of the outsider, so to speak, it's become a bludgeon, a truncheon of the regime. Remember late night television, the idea that it was late night. And we were kids, it was like, hey, this is late. It's 11:30, Johnny Carson's on weekend. More people watched it. Late night TV. It was edgy, it was rebellious, it was kind of dangerous, it was a bit, risque and saucy or whatever. Now it reads almost like woke state-sponsored mockery of anyone who dares to question authority. And the arts are no longer a sanctuary, for the rebellious, for the Jim Morrisons. I know there were some questions about him, but it's become a script. And the illusion, this is another thing to it. The illusion of choice is also a manufactured deception and distraction. The censorship model, which is in use today, has been refined over the decades through predictive programming, social engineering, from pandemic restrictions to content moderation. The people, the responses have been rehearsed. The systems kind of tested and worked through. And through this very careful and orchestrated and planned manipulation, it was all perfected. The world we're living in right now is not like it was a year ago. See, repression is always has been historically a prelude to collapse. History shows that when speech is outlawed, we always know this, tyranny hardens, instability follows, destabilization stops. I mean, it is the perfect prescient protocol, dare I say, for disaster. It is that simple. Cut Up says, I suddenly question the free sorting games online. Interesting. I don't know what I don't know what a free sorting game is, but I think you should question anything online. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I think all of us agree to this. Societies historically that silence half their population lose adaptability, ability to convert, malleability, the protean ability to change. They lose creativity, the capacity for reform. The path that we're on right now leads to absolute economic decline. Thanks to President Trump, we're going to change it. Political collapse, open civil strife, maybe even civil war. Don't think for a moment these people are going away. The time to act right now is now, my friends. And that's one thing that we learn from watching this. Silence today is surrender tomorrow. There's no other way around it. You know, every individual has a role to play. You do. Listen to me carefully, whether you're speaking or creating, organizing, resisting, tweeting, or Xing, or whatever the hell it is. You've got to be an apostle of truth. You have to go out and tell people constantly. You do. You can't just sit back and let other people do it. You know, courage is contagious. And the system's greatest fear is a population that refuses to be muzzled. We got to talk about this. They speak about this as well. Mass surveillance is no longer speculative. It's normalized. The same technologies used to market products are now used to monitor behavior, flag dissent, automate and systematize enforcement. I mean, every click, every purchase, every post, every like, every retweet or whatever, everything feeds into systems designed to preempt opposition. And the biggie, artificial intelligence. And when we go to AGI, it is going to be the ruination of the world. It's becoming the regime's thought police. AI doesn't just moderate content. It doesn't just, assist. It predicts behavior. It prevents speech based on profiles, patterns, and probability. It learns. It's the perfect censorship tool. Fast, invisible, unaccountable. You don't even know what's happening. And if you think this is good, many of you have said things like, it won't let me say this. That's nothing. That will tell you it's not letting you do something. The media are no longer the watchdog. They're the collaborator. I mean, legacy outlets, legacy media, the traditional ones, they no longer report the truth. They manage narratives. And that's something which, again, if you watch Tucker and Alex, you learn this. From CNN to NPR to MSDNC, you name it. The goal is no longer to inform, but to shape behavior and to reiterate, to perpetuate that which they're told to regulate opinion, to ostracize, to limit, and to isolate dissenters. Education, I'm not even done with it. I'm making these notes here. Education is grooming obedience, not excellence. Indoctrination is what we're talking about. These are schools. It's replaced inquiry. Don't ask questions. Just do what we say. Students are taught what to think, not how to think. You know this. This is axiomatic. The classroom has become almost like a training ground for rote memorization, for submission, ideological conformity, giving in, complete and total submission, subjugation, learned helplessness. It's beyond, my friends, anything we ever thought. It's beyond anything we ever thought. The economic levers, oh my God, used to crush the resistance, banks, payment processors, crowdfunding platforms, used to, maybe not now, but deny service to individuals based on political beliefs. Remember this? Economic exile is the new form of blacklist. This is financial censorship weaponized. Big tech, we could spend them all the time in the world. They act as the enforcement arm of a political ideology. Deplatforming. I hope We learn from that. But it's not a private company's choice. It's the digital version of exile. If you're banned from the internet, you are silenced in the new public square. You can just say goodbye. And what about this? The fact-checking groups. Oh, this is beautiful. Snopes, PolitiFact. This is a euphemism for narrative enforcement. These groups, these entities, these folks, they're not neutral. They're gatekeepers. Their purpose is not to verify truth or to verify, but to disqualify and discredit and derank you. Any content, any idea, any thoughts, anything that dares to challenge the regime, to challenge woke orthodoxy. And the globalist institutions, UN, WEF, WHO, World Health, and banks, you name it, the World Bank, go down the list, all the UN and their subsidiaries. They're not advisory bodies. These are political actors. They're probably more involved. We know about Agenda 21, Agenda 23, 2030, Codex Alimentarius. We know about the Club of Rome. I mean, it just goes down the list. They function as unelected power brokers. It's incredible. They influence policies, shaping media guidelines. This is important right now. We have talked about, and you've heard people talk about the Israeli lobby. You've heard about this, about AIPAC. That's a consideration as well. But at least, I say at least, they're up front. They're telling you, this is exactly who we are. We meet here. These are our people. But the people who don't, it's not so much the people who want to influence, which is your right. Anybody has a right to influence, whether you're Greenpeace or the NRA or whatever it is, that's fine. But when they hide in this kind of clandestine, kind of a cryptic form, that's what scares me. When they promote censorship in the name of health, climate, or stability, that's when you got to watch out. Listen to what I'm saying. Did you hear what Fauci said the other day? He's predicting pandemics all over again. Pandemic policies. This was a beta test for total control. This was, and all of this war gamed and table topped, or whatever the phrase is, before. Lockdowns, mandates, censorship of dissenting experts, not trusting the science, social shaming. These weren't anomalies. These weren't things. They were programmed. They were prototypes. This is the public's compliance was studied and was measured, and they knew exactly what was going to happen. They knew exactly what was going to happen. This was by design. I can't say it enough to you. I can't say it enough. It's not a joke. It's not. They know exactly what they're doing. This is Brave New World meets. There's no name for it. The suppression of dissent is now systemic. You're used to it. That's the weird part. You've habituated to it. The barriers are no longer, social. That's not it. They're structural. Let me also tell you something. Dissenters aren't just shamed. They're sued. They're arrested. They're bankrupted. They're blacklisted. They're erased. They are negated. They are Baudelarized and emended and obliterated and expurgated. This is not accidental. This is procedural. And I'm not done yet. Algorithmic, this is my favorite, the algorithmic manipulation of things. This is psychological warfare. Your news feed is not your own. It's a curated, optimized, behavioral control, specifically selected control grid. You are not being informed. You are being conditioned. You are being sold certain things, many of it funded by USAID, which I hope that we've destroyed. And the goal is total compliance. They do not want dialogue. They want domination. The architecture of censorship, no matter the country or the system or the regime, isn't designed to debate. They hate debate. They hate master debaters. It's about eliminating the opposition, sanitizing and controlling, the subject matter, what you say, how you say it, for how long you say it. The goal is not to win the argument. It's to erase it, to destroy it. Digital identity today is your throwing away the key to your, I guess the analogy is, it's the gateway to total control. It's your consenting to your imprisonment. CBDC, central bank digital currencies, vaccine passports, digital IDs. These are not inconveniences. These are chains. And once they are tied to behavior, your life becomes programmable. There's some very smart people out there. I know you may look at the government and say Nancy Pelosi. We're not talking about Nancy Pelosi. We're talking about people above and beyond her. People of the shadow government, not the deep state. Deep state's within Washington. The shadow government is over and above that. It overarches everything. Propaganda, oh my God. It's today's journalism. Today's media do not challenge power. They market it. Crisis narratives, tailored, curated, produced, portrayed, performed, delivered with a precision you can't believe. I mean, if you thought advertising campaigns, well, it's kind of what it is. Truth is now a liability. And you know what the currency is right now, my friends? You know what they count on more? Fear, your fear. Fear is a currency. Every policy, every restriction, every censorship campaign is sold on the back of fear. Fear of disease, fear of hate, fear of violence, fear of misinformation, disinformation, bad information, fear of being called homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic. That's what it is. Fear, trepidation. It paralyzes you. The sales pitch, tyranny is the product. Let me tell you something. And what do we need? Remember, courage is contagious. Silence is compliance. There's no other way around it. This regime counts on your fear, your fatigue, self-censorship, giving up, surrender, self-subjugation. The antidote is speech, more speech, loud, fearless, relentless, brutal. Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, anybody you want. The system can only win if you agree to play by its rules. When you self-censor, when you comply with absurdity, when you accept, lies and distortions of fact, you strengthen the very thing you allegedly despise. Tyranny always cloaks itself in virtue. It's always the best. It's like, oh, no, this is for a better cause. Censorship will be sold as protection. Silence is framed as peace. No, please don't. Watch what you say. Be careful. Be quiet. Be a good little compliant, a little servile citizen. Compliance is celebrated as progress, freedom. Freedom. You don't want freedom. It's bad. It feels like rebellion to those who serve power. It's wonderful. Let me tell you something right now. Don't forget what Tolstoy said. I always say history would be a wonderful thing if only were true. History is not going to judge the silent very kindly. Those people who stood and resisted while others bowed, those who spoke when others were whispered, let me say, they are the ones who make liberty possible. And by the way, that means telling, believe it or not, your brother-in-law, your cousin, your neighbor, that you are a Trump supporter and you are not going to bow or cow to anybody else. If you want to wear a hat or wear a pin or wear whatever, MAGA is your middle name and that's the way it is. And if they don't like it, they can go, you know what they can do. The future, as you know, belongs to the brave. Compliance is wrong. Silence is compliance. Remember, courage is contagious. People love that. It's not saying anything. And by the way, this is the moment for us in this country. And I think what Alex and what Tucker talked about, this is our time. Are we going to look back and say that we watched all unfold and did nothing? Or that we were so busy with other things that we just said, I thought somebody else was going to do it. Or are we going to take our place among the free and the unafraid, the clock or whatever the countdown is ticking. And let me tell you something right now. That more and more people are beginning to see, and this is important, this is critical, and see clearly. Even if the so-called mainstream still says it's not happening, we're not experiencing political turbulence or cultural disarray. We are smack dab in the middle of a carefully calculated takedown, a war of everything that once gave our country its backbone, its courage, its identity. This isn't chaos for chaos's sake. We're not engineering this. We're not doing this performative nonsense. We are witnessing a systematic, deliberate campaign orchestrated by a bunch of unelected elites who, and you can pick the ones you like, who use everything from tech censorship to global finance to social fragmentation, whatever you want to call it, as tools to consolidate their power. Look around you. Look around you. When every major institution starts moving in lockstep, almost like in goose step, so to speak, not toward solutions, but toward more control, you know this is no accident. Listen to me. Listen to me. Media narratives are no longer about information. And you know this. We've been saying this for years. They're psychological. They're psyops. Psyops designed to suppress dissent, to also suppress and dilute hope and determination and focus. That's what it's about. They want to rewire your perception of reality. Listen to what I'm saying. Intel agencies, think tanks, global nonprofits, they're functioning not to serve citizens. No. They're shepherding them into silence, into their pen, into their cage. This isn't about left versus right. Dear God, that Manichaean nonsense, left and right, up and down, apodictic nonsense. This is about control versus freedom. And freedom is losing. And you can't even speak freely online without getting throttled or erased or somebody say, you can't say that. And so much is going to change and has changed by virtue of Trump. We are not even near completion, but it's tremendously increased. The financial system isn't broken. It's been hijacked. And what they call inflation and, market adjustment, all this stuff, it's wealth transfer. They've been telling you this, redistribution of the wealth. They've been telling you this since day one. Look at our energy grid. Look at our manufacturing. Look at our borders. These aren't, neglected systems. They're targeted areas, targeted portals, vulnerabilities. They're gutting what remains of our national independence, our sovereignty. And we know this. And doing so right in the middle of you, right in the middle of everybody, while distracting you and everybody else from headline after headline of engineered division. That's exactly what we're doing right now. Listen to those two. God bless them. But you got to listen to it again and again and again and have your friends sit around. Seriously, have a party. Listen to it. Serve drinks. Listen to it. And stop and say, what did you think about that? What do you think? Jerry, what do you think? Get people involved. Don't think for a second that the push for war, by the way, is disconnected from all this. Oh, no. Whether it's poking the bear, sticking the eye, goading Putin and Russia, destabilizing the Middle East under the pretext of humanitarian aid or whatever the hell it is we're doing. The same people who want us weak, the same people who want us unable to fight back here at home, want us overextended abroad. It's the perfect trap. Cripple the economy, distract with conflict, and then step in with a solution. This is Hegelian dialectics. You know all about that, right? Problem, reaction, solution, or thesis, antithesis, synthesis, whatever you want to call it. You want a solution that looks suspiciously like some kind of authoritarianism or anti-liberty movement dressed up as a global, cooperation. Even science, our beloved science, has been used as a weapon. We're not just exploring genetics anymore. We're reviving extinct animals. Be careful. Merging man with machine, transhumanism, pushing transhumanism like it's the next moral frontier. Okay. When in reality, it's the oldest temptation in history. Man playing God. Listen, this isn't innovation. Let me say this again. This is not whatever. This is ideological colonization, whatever you want to call it, of what it means to be human. If you've got kids and grandkids or whatever it is, you've got to ask yourself this question. How are they doing? What are they being told? Our children are being right now told that gender is not even, that it's on a spectrum, that biology is subjective and tradition is oppressive. And that attack is spiritual, psychological, and relentless. Let me tell you, kids today, homeschooling is going to be the only way to go. I'm sorry. homeschooling or individual pods that you control. It's not, I call it the educational militia that we need. It's not that one or two areas are being corrupted. The whole thing is, how are we going to be able to compete with Asia or Europe down the line when kids can't even read? We played this story about this woman a girl from Connecticut. She graduated with honors and couldn't read. This is coordinated demolition. This is an absolute inside job. And those people who are trying to raise alarms are being silenced, like Alex, like Tucker. God bless them. And they're being sued into oblivion. There's no such thing anymore as coincidence. No such thing. It doesn't. You know that. Things just don't. This idea that, hey, that was interesting, that spontaneous little thing out of nowhere. Oh, no. The sooner we realize that, the better. You see, the media don't miss the point anymore. Oh, no. They are the point. And their job is not to inform, it's to confuse, and to demoralize, and to hurt, and to make you afraid, to convince you that resistance is futile. But here's what they're not ready for. Listen to me carefully. We're not giving up. In fact, we're just getting started. More people since 70, how many days ago it was? It was 79 days ago, right? Maybe 80. that President Trump took over, it changed. I mean, it changed like you cannot believe. More people are asking questions. More people are rejecting the approved and the crafted narratives. The sleeping giant is waking up, my friends. This isn't about one man or one party or one president. It's about the reclaiming. Listen to me. I know this sounds kind of corny here, but it's true. The reclaiming the soul of our nation, who we are, our rights, our future, our Constitution. We're not victims of history. We are authors of what's coming next. We are the script writers, and we're done waiting for permission. We're not going to be asking if it's okay for us to speak the truth. Let me tell you something, my friends. I had a movement. I had a moment yesterday. It was the most important. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Getting back to your incredibly important AI makes encoding super chats on Lionel Nation increasingly difficult. Yes. But they're also learning you, Sparky. They're learning your own cryptographic tendencies and the like. Cut Up Chatter says the whole storyline of The Pretender 1990 series. Indeed. Sparky said, did you listen to the APAC leaks on keeping control over Congress and executive branch and controlling the narrative on the gray zone? So heard that just before I went on. And Sparky, how many people means? How many people know? Any idea? Remember, there's nothing illegal. Nothing illegal with APAC. However, these FARA, remember they say, well, you should file as a foreign agent. Well, how does that work? Sparky says, the deafening silence. Indeed. Sparky also says, Lionel, next time you're hanging out with President Trump, tell him as long as he's interested in ending wars, to add ending the war on small business to his list. Absolutely. Great talk, Uncle Lenny. Thank you. Thank you, Big Dick. Listen, this president, I'm going to tell you right now, I could not be more pleased. Things are not perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. None. There's no such thing as perfect. But I want to do a couple of things, and I want you to listen carefully. I didn't want to interrupt with a lot of things. I'm very, 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 very important. I'm very interested, by the way, when it comes to emergency food. I told you this before. This stuff, I don't know what China's planning. But we might have that under control. I believe, stupid me, that we will. Because nobody's ever fought them back. They've never had to do this before. See, Trump has been saying this for 30, 40 years. This is what I'm going to do. Make sure you remember our friends at Mike Lindell at My Pillow. I can't say this enough. By the way, his news, Lindell TV, is fantastic. There's a woman she has a wonderful Latino name or a Latin, Spanish name. I think. But anyway, she's wonderful. I've been catching her from time to time. But mypillow.com, promo code Lionel, mypillow.com/Lionel. Do that. They are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. And I mentioned this, which is also important. If you, like many people, are freaking out, especially right now, no debt with Lionel.com. Go there. This is one of the best ways to consolidate debts, to deal with it, to take control of this hard, because nothing is, there is nothing worse than that feeling of, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make it, or rent, or mortgage, or cars. It's beyond frightening. All right, my friends. Let me say, give yourself a round of applause. Please follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. The work she is doing, every video she has, everything. Believe me, she is the only person talking about this. Believe me. Don't forget to follow our legal channel at Lionel Legal. Got a brand new one coming up right now. A brand new. And don't forget, make sure you are subscribed to Lionel Nation. Lionel Nation, right here. Make sure you are subscribed to Lionel Nation. Like this video. Like this video, because we need to let YouTube put it into its recommended algorithm, because we want people to listen to us. We're not crazy. We're patriots. We believe in freedom. That's all. And sometimes that nothing scares people more than that. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious day. Don't ever change. I mean that sincerely. Got more videos coming during the day. Until then, my friend, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.